This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. We continue our coverage of St. Croix's Lime Tree Bay refinery as the company announces layoffs of hundreds of employees and a likely closure of the oil refinery. More now from Lime Tree Bay's CEO. In our exclusive interview, Jeff Rinker shares with our Ali Bourne-Vanack more on just what caused the May 12th flare incident. He says the age of the equipment wasn't the issue and explains why it happened.
As Lime Tree Bay prepares for an extended shutdown, the company says they have clarity on what caused the May 12th flare incident.
The incident didn't have anything to do with the age of the equipment. That's clear. And we've now thoroughly investigated. We've also had external experts come in and help us with the investigation. So we do know exactly what happened, and we've corrected the problem that happened.
CEO of Lime Tree Bay, Jeff Rinker, shares a technical explanation of what happened, which led to oily water that blew outside the refinery. He says the issue has been corrected.
We have a lot of people in the U.S. Virgin Islands who understand really well the refinery. So I'll just give just a brief description. We were in the process of quenching a coke drum, which means we have a very large tank that's full of petroleum coke, which is very much like charcoal, hot charcoal, only it's made out of oil instead of wood. And you slowly introduce steam and then water to cool off this coke drum. And in this case, because of a technical mistake with the controls on the coke drum, we were allowed a larger quantity of water was introduced into the coke drum too fast, and it overheated and overpressured rather, and that steam and water that was kind of oily from the coke was all released to the flare. The system is designed to release to the flare because that's a safe location to be released, but the amount of steam and water was too much for the flare, and that's what caused this cloud of oily water. Most of that oily water fell inside the refinery, but some of it was blown by the air, the winds, outside of the refinery and caused these oil specks that we saw in people's homes and cars. We're sure that the problem that caused that incident is fixed. And that's not why we've shut down the business. We stopped the business just because of a lack of funding.
While Lime Tree Bay's refinery has been described as having older equipment going back to when it was Hess and later Hovenza, Rinker says hundreds of millions of dollars went into replacing the older equipment.
We did replace a lot of old equipment in the refinery, especially piping. We went through the entire refinery and inspected the critical piping systems, and any of them that we weren't confident in the mechanical integrity were replaced. That's one reason why the restart took so long. You hear a lot about that the project was delayed, and it was, but a big reason for the delay was that we took our time to make sure that everything that needed to be replaced for safe and reliable operation was replaced.
Lime Tree Bay says the focus now is safely moving the refinery into an extended shutdown. The oil storage part of the business will continue.
We're focusing very much on what we can control, and that's making sure that in the next 90 days or so that we have a lot of work to do inside the refinery to move the oil out and to protect the equipment. We're going to make sure that we do this very safely. Throughout the whole startup, this has been a safe project. This has been a safe operation, and will continue to be a safe operation right until the end.
In St. Croix, Ali Bourne-Vanack, USVI News.
Very interesting to finally get that clarity. Thank you, Ali Bourne-Vanack, with that exclusive interview with Lime Tree Bay's CEO. And of course, we will continue to follow this story as it develops. In other news today, a big donation will help support education, arts and culture, environmental protection, and social well-being all throughout the territory. The Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands has received another $50,000 grant from the Liberty Foundation. The Liberty Foundation is the philanthropic arm of Liberty Communications, which serves mobile customers here in the Virgin Islands since the acquisition of AT&T's operations in the territory back in October of last year. The Community Foundation says it is grateful to the Liberty Foundation's commitment to being a part of the communities they serve. The money's going towards various organizations, including a foster care home in St. Croix, a children's home in St. Thomas, the Boys and Girls Club for a summer camp, and the Caribbean Museum Center of the Arts in St. Croix, as well as several other organizations throughout the territory. The reopening of America is taking another step forward. As we reported earlier this week, over the weekend, the first major cruise ship in 15 months with paying passengers set sail from a U.S. port and is currently sailing the waters. The Voyage giving us an inside look at that industry's future.
In the Gulf of Mexico, the celebrity cruise ship Edge sailed. But before any paying passengers could be cheered, new rules, vaccine cards, not mandatory, but encouraged. So if somebody gets on board, they don't want to show a vaccine passport, they're not vaccinated, what is different for them?
It involves some other things, extra testing, because we want to make sure that we prevent any kind of spread. It also involves having to wear masks.
On board the Edge, 99% of passengers and crew are vaccinated. Grace Mummert and 23 other kids were too young to get a vaccine.
I got tested and we had to see the results before I could get on board.
2 adults on board are also not vaccinated. Like crew members, they have to wear masks. Among the most visible changes, the self-serve buffets.
I like it much better being served. I don't like touching spoons that everybody else touched. It's just too much.
Almost 3 weeks ago, 2 passengers tested positive on the Millennium after a dry run with new protocols.
Our objective is, unlike what you see on land in so many places, we can contain it. We can make sure that if there is a case, it remains a case and rather than an outbreak.
On this cruise, avid cruise blogger Stuart Sheeran. This is his 278th cruise.
When someone calls a cruise ship a floating petri dish, their credibility is out the window. They've obviously never been on a cruise and they don't understand the concept of how much space is available per person on these cruise ships.
On this voyage, there's more space than ever. The ship could hold 2,900 passengers, but to ensure social distancing, only 1,100 tickets were sold. As the ship departed Fort Lauderdale back on Saturday, the noisemakers on shore included travel agents, hopeful a multi-billion-dollar industry is finally back. Long furloughed crew members showered paying passengers with gratitude as they boarded. Cruise lines report advanced bookings for this year and 2022 are breaking records, a sign America is returning to a post-pandemic normal.
It feels like I'm out of jail. Out of jail because of COVID. Yes, this is the first time I've been on a boat, actually been almost anywhere since COVID ended.
I feel like I'm on vacation, total vacation.
Total vacation. There's no word when the cruises may stop here in the USVI. Now, the 3 largest cruise companies lost about $25 billion since the pandemic start, but the industry is optimistic returning to the high seas will eventually lead to some big profits. United Airlines is taking advantage of low demand right now to stock up on new airplanes. The company announced Tuesday it has ordered 270 new aircraft. That's the largest in its history and the biggest order by any airline in more than a decade. United is adding 200 Boeing 737 MAX jets and 70 Airbus A321neo airplanes. Most of the jets will replace smaller regional planes that carry about 50 passengers each. The list price for the airplanes is about $35 billion, but analysts believe United likely negotiated a significant discount. The move comes as demand for leisure travel is nearly back to pre-pandemic levels. However, business travel is more lucrative for airlines. However, that is still stagnating at this point.